When you have as many kids as we do, you get creative. We trust Arm & Hammer for baking, cleaning, whitening, and deodorizing. Bold taste of Lavazza. And discover coffee in all its forms. For all the ouchies, boo-boos, oopsie-daisies, and uh-ohs, Band-Aid, we've got you covered. Wouldn't it be cool if you could order Domino's pizza with your mind? Like, boom, think it, and then pizza just shows up? Whoa, did I just do that? The Tre Botany collection nourishes like no other, leaving hair with lasting smoothness and manageability. Tre, do it with style. Last minute Disneyland trip? No problem. With a travel rewards credit card from Bank of America, earn 1.5 points for every dollar spent. Go where you want, when you want, no hesitation. You've always had to choose between luxury and practicality. Until now. Command every road with the BMW X5 with advanced engineering and luxurious design.
What's good, everybody? And welcome to an international episode of Take Time Out with Tre Mosley. I say international because my guest is not here in the States. He is way across the pond, as they say. It's a pretty big pond, too. This young lady, I met her about a year ago and some change. We were in a workshop together, animation and characters and stuff like that. And she was just beating them down, whatever character. I'm like, who is this young lady? And ever since then, we, connected and have been following each other's moves in this video game, and she's doing some incredible things. And I was like, hey, you might want to be on the show. She's like, what? Sure. And here she is. And I was just complimenting her on how, y'all need to follow her, like the Get Ready With Me. I think that's what the young folk call it. Because she is rocking the hijab, got the cap on. I'm like, so if voiceover does not work, fashion is definitely, y'all. You see how I look like a bum that just got up the garbage truck or something, and she is dressed like, today I'm going to show you how. I feel like I need to go change clothes. But anyway, Yasmeen is here with us, and thank you so much for joining me. I know it's it's in the afternoon for you, almost evening.
It is evening because the sun goes down here like 3:30. So it's been dark for a couple of hours already, but it's 5, just past 5.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's 9-ish a.m. here on the West Coast. So let us begin. Now, I will say, for the folks that are watching, she lives overseas, but she is not from overseas. No. Tell the folks where you're from.
So I am Black American from Southern California, born in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles. My parents are convert Muslims, and we moved overseas to Saudi Arabia when I was about 10 years old. So I grew up as a third culture kid in the Middle East. I attended British private school, and I am bilingual with Arabic as my second language. So, yeah, I'm all over the place. And now I live in Scotland.
You see, you only get this here on this here podcast. We global, baby. You understand? So now, how often do you come back to the States to visit?
I was there last summer. So 2023. And yeah, I've got family in Michigan. I've got family in California. So last summer we flew back to Michigan and spent the summer visiting my parents and some of the family that are out there. And which is funny because when we were growing up, we grew up exclusively in California, and I only made it out to Michigan
a handful of times as a child.
Hmm.
So I'm not really familiar with the Midwest in that way. So going back last summer, and we stayed for about 5 weeks. It was really
Oh
kind of
wow.
like my first like good time, like chilling in the Midwest. So I was like, this is interesting.
So you had a whole immersion.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's cool. Um, so then now we're gonna reverse it. What took you back overseas?
Um, you mean here to the UK?
Hmm.
So my husband is British, and
Ah.
we met in Saudi while he was working. He's an English professor at college level, and we met in Saudi Arabia. And then after a few kids, we decided to leave, and
Hmm.
yeah, ended up here in the UK.
Now, what would you say? And we were talking before we hit the red button,
Yeah.
um, talking about the different contrasts uh, with weather and things like that. But weather aside, what are some things that um, culturally that you see there that are different here and vice versa?
I think the first thing that jumps out, and the same was with my kids, is just the size of everything. Um, it almost feels ridiculous having any kind of family or any kind of sorry UK, any kind of quality of life here. We're like, why is everything so small? Like your bedroom is just big enough for you to fit a single bed and lay down. It's like just lay down and go to sleep. You don't need too much stuff.
You're having too much fun. Come to the room where now sleep.
Yeah, it's
Good night.
it's so when you go to America, it's like of course everything is so big. All of the relatives' houses were like massive, especially in the Midwest where everyone has, a fully fitted basement and game room. And
Yeah.
my kids' heads were spinning. They were just like, "Why don't we live here?"
Is it too late to
Yeah. No, seriously.
move?
Mama, why aren't we American?
Oh man. So now that's interesting that you bring that up. Um, having lived over there as long as you have,
Mhm.
um, do you have an accent?
Me?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, growing up in Saudi and then going to a British school messed me up because we were forced, according to the British curriculum, to spell the British way. All of my teachers were like former nuns, so they were Scottish, Irish, English teachers.
Mhm.
Um, and it's really funny. I always had a very muddied accent. And I would go back to visit my family in the States, and they'd be like, "Oh, her accent is so cute." And and then my older siblings moved to England, to London, to study after they graduated from high school. My parents chose to send them to England instead of the States just because it was closer, it was less expensive.
Mhm.
They could fly back and forth on their school breaks and stuff. So I spent a lot of time in London. So about every summer, we would spend the full summer, and we had 3 month summer holidays. So for 3 months out of every year, I was in London hanging out with my siblings. And so my accent was very, when Madonna went through that phase when she was
Uh,
married, and suddenly she was like, "I'm British." Yeah, my friends, I used to get teased and called Madonna. But
oh,
but then
wow.
also living in the Middle East, I could code switch, and then I would kind of have like an Arab accent when I was speaking to my friends or to certain people. Then suddenly you code switch, and then you're like, I'm Arab. So
That's
getting
pretty cool.
getting
Okay.
into voiceover, I've actually had trouble breaking into the US market, and that's a whole other topic and conversation, but I was told I didn't sound American enough. So I've actually trained since being a voice actor to sound more American, to put more emphasis on my R's and to not pronounce my T's, and um, yeah, just it's been interesting.
That is interesting indeed. So let's dive into that. You know, everyone's VO journey, it has a start, and at one point we get to many forks in the road, and do I want to do promo? Do I want to do narration? Do I
Right.
want to do commercials and video? So there's these many forks in the road, but there's always one starting point. But before you get to your starting point, before you got into voiceover, um, did you have any connection with the arts in school at all?
So I come from a very artistic family.
Hmm.
My dad is a consummate artist. He's literally jack of all trades artist. He's done everything from he's done everything from make jewelry to make clocks to make furniture. He's a painter. He got into subcontracting and was building homes at one point. Kind of a self-taught
Wow.
architect. And on my mom's side of the family, they're very heavily in the music industry. So my grandmother was a singer and toured the world, and had did the whole nightclub run and cruise ships. And my uncle was a member of Robert Palmer's band in the 80s. So
What? The power station?
yeah, addicted to
Some
love.
like wow, man. So you get it honest then. That's crazy.
So yeah, so I've been singing since I could talk. I was always like the entertainment at Christmas and Thanksgiving dinners. Everyone,
Oh, you were that
yeah,
kid.
yeah, I was that kid singing The Little Mermaid to the family, but I was so shy. I would make everybody turn around, or would or I would sing from the closet.
I'll do it, but you can't look at me.
Exactly, which is really funny because I'm still kind of that way. I'm still like, if you know me in my real life, I'm actually very, very quiet. Not, I don't know if I'm an introvert. I'm just kind of like, don't look at me. So,
I would have not guessed that.
yeah.
Just from your energy and like I said, when I watch your videos, I'm like, she seems like she just bursting with energy to hear that you're like, no, that's not me.
Well, no, it is,
That's
it is,
crazy.
it is, and it isn't. So, I wrote poetry from a really young age. I
Okay.
was in ballet until the age of 14. I've always been doing things and kind of expressing myself in an artistic way. And by the time I hit high school, I actually wanted to be a filmmaker. And so I've always had all these ideas for creating and telling stories, and particularly my story. I felt like it was important because my extended family are non-Muslim, and
Hmm.
my parents and my family were the only Muslims in the family. There was a lot of um, just feeling left out or misunderstood.
Yeah.
And then I guess having moved overseas and living in Saudi and not really getting to grow up with them and spend that much time with them. And I really felt like this urgency and this need to like tell my story and like who am I? Um,
Yeah.
and so that was something that I wanted to do from really early on. So I have a lot of ideas and things buzzing in me all the time. So that energy is real. That energy is like that's how I function, is through creating and through, expressing myself in ways that, as somebody who is probably shy, wouldn't be able to do it in a normal sort of outlet.
Yeah.
So my outlet is
I feel you.
art.
That makes perfect sense. So, um, once you left high school, um, did you have a plan of like, okay, what's the next step? What am I going to do? What was so what I find interesting, a lot of us leave high school or university, and then the path that we thought we were going to take is totally different from the path that we go on.
Absolutely.
There's not many people that I've interviewed that said, "Yeah, I always wanted to be a voice actor."
Yeah.
That's like this small.
Yeah.
So before you even knew what voice acting was, what would you say was going to be your career path, and then you never got there?
Um, so like I said, I wanted to be a filmmaker and a documentarian. And so I went back to the States a bit late. I didn't go back immediately after high school because my parents were very protective. And
Mhm.
they were like, no, not yet. No, not yet. And I was like, when can I go? And so I didn't go back to the States till I was, I think, 20. And even then, they were scared to send me to a big city. So, like, they didn't want to send me to LA. So I went back to Palm Springs. Um, and of course, Palm Springs is so small. I went to its community college. And they were kind of happy with that. They were like, okay, let's start small. So I was going to college at the desert in Palm Desert. But the problem is, I arrived 2 months before September 11th, um,
Uh,
which was like the worst timing. I arrived July 2001, and
mm,
that was a really difficult experience to navigate, especially kind of flying the coop for the first time and being on my
yeah,
own for the first time, and after living in the Middle East. And I think because as well I look racially ambiguous. Um I just had a really hard time where people were just like, "What are you? Are you even
nah,
American?" I was like, "I'm black." And they're like, "No, you're not." And I was like, "Yes, I am." And they're like, "No, you aren't." And I was like, "Okay." And then they were like,
like
well, are you American?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "But what are you originally? Like, you got a green card, right?" And I was like, "No, I'm American." And
what
they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I get it, but like, like your parents are from where?" And it was hard. Like, I felt like everywhere I went, I had to prove myself. I had to tell my whole life story. Um,
Yeah, that's
and
rough.
I didn't make it. I ended up not graduating. And I went back to Saudi feeling really dejected and feeling like a failure. And uh, you know, I don't want to tell any sad stories on here, but
No, it's your story is your story, you know? So
yeah, but that didn't happen. That didn't materialize. Graduating and becoming a filmmaker, and then I got married instead and had my kids, and then I was a stay-at-home mom. And for years I felt like, okay, like that opportunity is gone. That wasn't meant for me. Um so yeah, in a very kind of roundabout way, I've ended up still in the entertainment industry, just not in the way that I imagined that I
yeah.
would, but I still feel like it's incredibly important to me. That same passion to just want to tell my story and explain, like, it's important to me to be like, this is who I am. And if I can do that with my little measly platform as a voice actor, it's what I'm trying to do. And so yeah.
That's cool. And we we eventually get it, right? Um I wanted um huh, I want to be an attorney.
Okay.
Um I don't know what it was about the law. And I laugh because I am such a habitual line stepper. I am. I'm like, how funny would that have been if if I was the lawyer that always crossed the line, like, wait, shouldn't you be upholding the law? I am, but I'm gonna do this thing and I'll be back. Let me cross this line that I know I should not be doing. But if it's going to help me, because even in my VO career, um, there have been lines crossed.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, sometimes you
people
have
will,
to.
you have to, I used to hear, well, you probably shouldn't email them directly. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And they could never give me an honest answer as to why. It's just not good practice.
Yeah.
It's not good practice, but it doesn't mean it's bad practice either.
Yeah.
So I would do the opposite and would email the company. Like, hey,
And how many times did you strike out? How many times did you strike it lucky?
more times than not.
Exactly.
So I got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I can't live in fear of the word no,
Yeah.
because in our business we're going to hear no
Yeah.
a lot. Not verbally, sometimes not even in an email, but
Yeah.
when you don't get the call back or the response for the audition, that's a no. So if you audition for something on a Tuesday and 3 Tuesdays go by and you're like, yeah, I guess I didn't get it. Or you audition and then that new show comes out and you're like, I auditioned for that.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, and they're not even that good.
And whatever it takes to build you up, I'm like, I could have, man, I said it better than him. But
Exactly. You know what? I follow this casting director on Instagram and he posted something today. It was titled Three Most Horrific Emails I've Ever Received.
oh
And then
boy.
he had them like bullet pointed, like these little excerpts, 1 to 3. And the first one was like, hey, Mr. So and so, happy holidays. I hope that you're well. I hope that you had an amazing Christmas and got some great gifts. And he was like, seriously? And then the second one, and I'm like, what's so wrong with that? Like, they're being nice. They're just trying to be nice. And
They're trying to kiss his ass is what they're trying to do.
what have you? But then the second one was, I've emailed a few times and haven't heard back, but I just wanted to say that I'm really eager to work with you, blah, blah, whatever, something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the third one was, I would love to be cast in X because I believe that I would be an amazing addition to the cast. And these were his examples of horrific emails, like the audacity of these people. And everyone in the comments equally was like, you know what? Like maybe casting directors should just be nicer because it's hard for all of us. And everyone out there is just trying to like get their foot in the door, no matter
Yeah.
how. And sometimes it does take like that cheesy email or just being like, hey, ta-da, here I am. I think that I'd be great.
Absolutely. You know what? So I agree with you 1000%. Most of the time, and for you guys watching, you may take this and you too can be a habitual line stepper like old Tre here. Disclaimer, it worked for me. This does not mean it will work for you. You may piss someone off,
Yeah.
but good luck. What I usually do is I go to websites of different production companies and I'm looking at the type of things that they create. Uh, they do some production companies. All they do is crank out commercials for different brands. Some production companies they may film documentaries, and I'm like, okay, they may need a narrator. So what I do is I spend some time on the website to kind of get myself up to speed. So when I send the email, it's like, hey, just went to your website and love the projects that you guys are working on.
Mhm.
Uh, if you should ever use voiceover in your projects, um, who would I need to speak to in order to submit some possible samples for your review?
Yeah.
You know, and I leave, and then I come back, and then it's like, oh, well, you can reach out to our creative person, Sandy Smandy at this email. I'm like, I got in. Sometimes they go, yeah, we're all set. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
but I may come back a few weeks later and say, hey, just saw that thing you posted on LinkedIn. That was pretty cool. I did something similar. You may want to check this out. Now I throw a link right at them, and then they go, that was kind of nice. We do have some reel it in. You have what? We may have something that'll fit you. And can we send you a sample script? I got you. So you never know unless you take that shot. Um I don't know why the creatives, and not all of them, but I've heard the stories similar to that people love doing what we do, and they want to ascend to different heights in this industry, in this business. And I don't see why the creatives turn their noses up because someone is trying to shine your shoes a little bit, show you some love. Like, hey, you cast some good stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like I have the caliber of talent to be in the good stuff you cast. Give me a shot. If I blow it, then you say, you know what? You'll never work in this town again, kid. And then, okay, I blew it.
Yeah.
But if you give me the shot and you tee it up and I knock that bad boy out the park, now you're like, we never heard of Yasmeen, but we like her.
Hey,
Hey,
embarrassing
can you do this?
confession. I trailed the casting director and the crew of June for like a whole
Mhm.
year because I was like, you need me in your movie because I can bring authenticity and I can pronounce those names better than a lot of
Hey,
like
do
you.
what
I
you
was
gotta
like, you
do.
need to cast me. I was like, and I can like rock like the whole hijab and whatever thing and
Like, it's already it's pre-built. I'm here. I am the person you need.
and they were like, nah, stop, go. So I was like, okay.
Like, all right, you're lost.
I could have been in Dune Messiah.
Ah, your movie's cool or whatever, but it could have been cooler with me. I don't know why that is. We just want a fair shot, y'all. That's all. I know you have your list of people that are your favorites, but every now and then give that unknown
Yeah.
a little love.
Whatever
Like,
happened to whatever happened
yeah,
to the
that.
industry where it say and introducing. It was like I just want one of those like sweet and introducing titles.
Oh, that'd be cool. In our world, I'd be doing the trailer for you and introducing Yasmeen Ansari-Roberts as fill in the blank character in Dune Part 4. Like, it's gonna happen. Maybe not for Dune, but for something.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have that little, because I've seen it in animation as well, where they have had a cast and it's people and then they'll have an introducing. I'm like, oh, okay, because I was like, I don't know that voice. So your and introducing is coming. You heard it here first.
You heard it here
Like,
first.
I know her. See, like that's look. I can call her. I know her. Oh, don't believe me? Hello, Trey. What I tell you? No, I know her.
You know what
My
you
friend.
know what it is? I think there's like this because I've been out of the States for so long and just even being in the UK now, and I still feel like it's still like, but I'm not in America and no one in America will cast me. For me, it feels like a homecoming. Like I just want
Mhm.
to, I don't know. It's not even like the recognition. I just feel like part of me wants to make that full circle again.
Yeah,
Um, and because it's so hard, it's kind of like it's just a deeply personal identity crisis thing
sure.
that I'm like I'm like, I need to step out in the US because I am an American and I've lived outside the US for so long that, I'm like, how many, and this is me kind of tooting my horn here. I'm like, how many Muslim female hijab wearing voice actors are there? So I'm like, come on, people. But I gotta up my game, granted.
You know, um, that's a good question. How many of you all are out there? And if there aren't that many, then that kind of makes you a one of one. I would think, if anything, that would make you more interesting. Like, oh, we didn't know we need that, but now we need that. Um, Now I wanted to ask you this. Um, we were talking about code switching, uh, and I find that interesting because being that you are bilingual, like which code switching is easier to do? Because with black folk, and yes, she black, y'all, so stop looking at her all crazy. You know, when we're around certain elements, you know, we chilling, we doing what we do, and then when it's time to be not so chilled, and we have to have
Yeah.
a certain, we can do that.
Yeah.
But you saying that, by you speaking Arabic as well, um, over in the Emirates, how does code switching work over there?
Um, it's usually okay. So if I am speaking to someone that does not speak English very well,
Hmm.
then suddenly my accent becomes very Arab, and I will speak to them like this, and I will break down all of my words, and I will try to sound more Arab so that they can understand me. So then my accent changes because I know that they may not understand me. So I have to kind of, get to their level. But if I'm with my friends who do speak English, we both speak English and Arabic, it's usually when we're being silly. So it's
Hmm.
like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? And it's like, this is the most ridiculous accent because, it's like you're just being silly. So now I'm just going into like the silly accent. So there's just different scenarios for that. But funnily enough, for all the voice acting gigs that I've been requested for animation or video game, I have been
Hmm.
booked for a Middle Eastern character more than I have ever been booked for an American character. Seriously. And to be honest, I don't even know that my Arab accent is that good because I'm not, I and this is where labeling becomes tricky. So you know how like casting
Hmm.
wants to um cast authentically.
Right.
Have, you have Swana, which is for, I think it's Southwest Asia now and North Africa. It used to be MENA, Middle East and North Africa.
Hmm.
You have, Latin, LATAN for the Latin community. You have all
That
these
American,
different
right?
acronyms, and they want to cast authentically. Even casting for Black voice actors or actors. So where it becomes difficult is that if they are looking for a Black voice actor, I don't know if I should put myself forward for that role because I'm like, I know that I'm not who they're looking for.
Mm.
Um, like, do I have the sound that I think they're looking for? And they used to call it urban, and I know they've moved away from that, thank God. Um,
Yeah.
but I know that that's the sound that they're looking for, and so it sucks because on the one hand, as much as I bill myself as a Black American voice actor, I don't fit the casting for that particular role. And then when it comes to Swana, I'm like, well, am I Swana? And I'm like, but I did live in the Middle East for 27 years. Like, I just saw a casting that said authentic Saudi heritage. And I'm like, well, I'm not authentically Saudi, but I was raised in Saudi and I can sound Saudi and I speak Saudi Arabic. So there's so many grays.
Yeah. That's wow. Mm.
You know,
It's like you're in it's huh, that's in I mean, it's and it's interesting, and it's a conundrum because there's so many boxes you can check off, and I don't think either box would be the wrong box. Like you said, you were immersed in the culture for half your life. So the ins and outs of how to speak it, how to be it, how to tastefully and correctly appropriate
mhm,
the culture because you've lived in it. Now, were you born that way? No. Good friend of mine, Larry Davis.
mhm.
Uh, he has done voices in the past that if one were to listen to him, they're like, "That's a brother." But then when you see him, it's this middle-aged white dude. They're like, "Wait a minute." But Larry grew up in Houston, Texas, which is blackety black. So growing up around the brothers and sisters in Houston, he got something in him and it's genuine. He is not one of these people, and we know that they're out
Yeah,
there who I guess I'm black. I give you attitude, and like that's not what we're all about. But when he does it, and he doesn't do it a lot now, but he's like, man, I don't because we would talk. He's like, I don't want to come off like I'm trying to, misrepresent. I say, no,
if
there are
they're
certain
raised
people,
around.
yeah, who because of their upbringing,
Yeah.
when they do it, it's authentic because you were immersed in it. Like for me, living in Miami, I remember spending a whole summer where I was in a class where we spoke no English.
Oh,
And it was called Spanish immersion because we for 5 weeks you spoke nothing but Spanish.
that's
Um so now there are roles that when they say, yeah, we want, authentic, Latin speaking, I'm like, but I speak Spanish and I lived it, and I have to flip a coin. Like, should I go for this?
yeah.
Because I'm not.
Well, I have in the past because on the one hand, you're like, okay, if you can pull it off, should you? Or should you step back and say, you know, give that role to somebody who is authentically of that background? But
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes I do, knowing like, okay, I know I'm not going to be cast for this, but I'm going to try and do it just because I want to see if I can. Um, I don't know. I mean, I haven't done that. I haven't done that often, but
I find it. Yeah, it's one of those the yeah buts. It's like, yeah, I can do it, but what I find hmm, for so many years there have been shall we say non-melanated people that have been doing Mexican, Cubans, Asian, pick any Asian accent, uh, black accent, or AAVE for years that were white.
yeah.
Um, I'm glad now that folks are looking for authenticity, um, but they got away with it for so long. And I feel like if one of us were to do that, um, we would probably receive more backlash than they did because look how long it took for them to say, "Hey, we can't do this anymore." Uh, oh, did the light bulb just come on 40 years later? Uh, I just think that it's unfortunate that I think about how many jobs that were out there that were lost because you as a casting director did not really take the time to seek out people of color
Mhm.
that are good, that are talented, and you just, well, my buddy Billy, he does a pretty good black guy.
Mhm.
Well, you know who also does a pretty good black guy? A pretty good black guy.
Yeah, exactly. I feel that way about Muslim representation. I'm like, come on, people. There are enough Muslim actors, I'm sure, in the world for you to stop picking people who go Allah 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 Allah. It's like, please just cast somebody who can actually say the words and actually knows what they're doing when you try to portray someone as being Muslim. It's like, please, for the love of God, or at least hire somebody who is a bona fide consultant on culture, and you know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Who approved that?
Yeah, I've seen some shows, and even for accents that I'm like, that's supposed to be Spanish?
Mhm.
And it just sounds so terrible. And you can tell whoever's doing it is very pronounced. Like it could be a simple line where you're saying, ah, my friend, it is so good to see you. And it's like, ah, my friend, so good to see you. I said, so now you're Russian? Like what? That's not that's a whole we could do a part two and just talk about bad accents.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Bad representation.
Yes, bad representation. Um, so when did you get the VO bug?
So I like to credit my granddad in this story because, as I said, I grew up, singing, doing ballet. I was in all the school plays. I was always, the starring role. And at some point, obviously, when we moved to Saudi Arabia, that all came to an end. I went to an all girls school in Saudi. And so when I was back in the States with my aunt, she had taken me to see The Lion King on Broadway,
Oh, oh,
which was
wow.
like phenomenal. And the whole time, and she got us like front row tickets, even. The whole time,
You're like this.
the whole time she was looking at me. She was like, "That could have been you. That could have been you up there." I was like, "Come on, can we just watch the show?" So
You're ruining the moment here.
that could have been you up there. So so my family have always kind of been like, "Oh, you should have gone into the arts or something, in the industry." And so I was sending my granddad, as you do, sending voice messages. And he just said to me, "You know what, sugar? You need to like get into commercials or something because you could sell me anything and I'd buy it." So I was like, "Really?" I was like, "That's kind of nice of you, granddad." So he's like, "Yeah, you should look into voice acting." So I did. And it's really funny how everybody who starts looking into voice acting all says the same thing. I never thought that that was a job. Like, I never, even though we hear voice actors in everything for as far back as we
Yeah.
can remember, you don't think like, oh, somebody actually has that job, and full time at that. So
Mhm.
when I started looking into it, I was like, oh, okay. Um, and not knowing, I did everything wrong. I did everything that they tell you not to do when you're starting out in voiceover. I thought I needed a demo to start booking work. So I found a friend who is a music producer, and I got him to help me record a demo. And I took
Nice.
some scripts from online and pieced them together. I was like, oh, I need to put some books in there. So I picked some books from home. I was like, I need to have a couple of singing demos. So I sang a couple of tracks and I put it all together on one demo. And then I, jumped on some pay to play websites. And the funny thing is, with that crappy demo, I actually booked a lot of work. Um, and it's really funny because until I actually got my real demo produced, I thought it was a solid demo.
Yeah,
I didn't know
you'll get that
any
first
better.
demo. That happens though, man. You get that demo, and then you hear like a fully produced, and you're like, oh,
Exactly. Oh.
that's. But sometimes you have to go through that because my first demo, I produced myself, and like you, got plenty of work. Because I had a background. My uncle was a DJ, and he was also a TV news director. So I knew how, watching. I would go to the station with him sometimes, and he would kind of show how they cut video and stuff. And I started learning these different video softwares, and I would make little reels. But when you see how it's professionally done, you're like, oh. But I was still, making, little piece of money here and there. I was like, yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah.
So shout out to Gramps
Yeah.
for the inspiration. He saw the vision, was like, you could be doing this.
Yeah.
And here we are. Do you remember your first gig?
Um, my first gig was small. It was local. It was like an independent company here in the UK. And I kind of built up, and then to date, I've only had one major role in the US, and that was with Rebel Girls. And that was the job that I actually ended up winning an award for. Um, and I've not booked in the States since. I
Ooh.
I mean, I booked recently with Lord of the Rings online. Um, but I mean, like, I don't want to. No, I shouldn't say not mainstream, but like I've never
I
I've
do.
never booked any commercial work or anything
Yeah.
in the U.S. or even anything really corporate. Um, I did actually get booked for a corporate job in America, and they were just like, "Yeah, you just don't sound American enough. So we think we're going to go with someone local." And I was like, "Man, I was trying to sound as American as I could."
I don't understand that. For America to be the melting pot, you don't sound American enough.
Yeah.
So a black girl from California who had family in the Midwest is not all right. Okay. Wink wink. We're just gonna alrighty then.
So a lot of the work
That's
that I do is in the UK, and they all ask me to do a British accent. And I'm like, "But that's not my natural speaking voice. Like, this is my natural." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, it's fine. Just do British anyway." So I'm like, "Okay."
so where would you rate your British accent? Because again, because you've been there for so long. Unlike Madonna, who that was just terrible. But you know who also had a pretty good British accent because she was there for so long? Tina Turner.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I noticed it when this is in the early 90s and she was being interviewed. And when you listen to her interviews, like before What's Love Got to Do with It on back,
Mhm.
uh, she's just a very soulful sister that's talking. But when she moved away from the States and moved to England and she fell in love and met this guy and they were interviewing her, she's like, I love it over here. It's something about them. I'm like, and it wasn't put on. I think she was there for so long that she developed
Yeah, it just
this
flipped.
very
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. I
that's
do
one
I do that
advantage
on
that
my Ring doorbell with the delivery guy. I'm like, "He doesn't know." So suddenly I'm Scottish. And I'm like, "Nope, thanks. Cheers." Cheers, just leave it on the doorstep. Like,
see that's dope. So I look at it like this. America's loss is the world's gain because, and I know you want to make it over here, but until their eyes are opened or their ears are open, man, go where you are celebrated, go where you are wanted. And if that means that you're the UK's best kept black girl secret. And then when you finally hit the job of jobs, and they're like, wait, she from Cat? Nah, don't love me now because I'm on such and such show, animation thing, something, something or rather. You didn't love me then, but now that you love me, let's talk. So,
Like me now.
hey,
Do you
yeah, you like me now.
do you remember? I'm going to show my age now. Do you remember that episode? And you remember In Living Color, of course.
Of course.
So there is an episode with um what is his name? Billy D. Williams.
Mm-hmm.
They're reenacting Casablanca. And the
I think I remember
character
this.
goes, "Everybody loves me, mahogany." And she does the hair flip. And you can't stand it. Do you know why? Because you're a loser. And she throws a glass of water in his face. And I'm like, in my head, that's me. I'm like, I'm mahogany.
That's right. Don't you know who I am? So it's going to happen. You know, shame on y'all. Shame upon you. A curse upon your houses.
No, it's good.
Um,
I am happy. I think I'm in a good place where I feel like it's important to carve your own path. And, you know, when they say you don't have a seat at the table, it's kind of like, okay, well then make your own table and, make your own way and just kind of, get people to notice you that way. So I'm kind of happily meandering, even though it's a slow way. Um, and it is hard. It's hard. Like I have a lot of FOMO. Like everybody just got together at SOVAS, and I was like, I so wish I was there. To have
yeah.
everybody and to be in the mix. Um, but then I'm like, okay, anyway, next year maybe or soon or you know.
Just gotta keep grinding. Gotta keep grinding. Um, how does um your family now? Because we know it, granddad, he the MVP. But the rest of the family, when you said, okay, I think I'm gonna do this VO thing, um, how did they were they very supportive? Were they like, girl, you out? You sure? But like, what y'all just saying? That could be you up there, and now I have a chance to put my acting chops to use. So, how was the support from the folks?
Um, they've always been supportive. They've always been really excited. My dad always asks me, "So what are you doing in voiceover? You had any new projects?" And he makes me send him everything. So yeah, I mean, they've been really supportive, and I think for me, it's still kind of a matter of I gotta do this for me. And a lot of
Hmm.
people don't understand, your entire why and why you were called
Yeah,
to something. And for me, I don't whenever I embark on anything, I have to give it meaning. And I don't want my career to just be this like ego fueled, like, oh, I'm a voice actor for a living. And people are like, oh, that's, okay, that's interesting. That's nice. I mean, it's always an interesting topic when I'm at a doctor's appointment and I'm like, you know, in a procedure or something. And they're like, oh, could you do a character voice for us? And I'm like, not now.
I'm getting a shot.
Yeah, not now, please. Uh,
You're drawing blood, and you want me to? No, it's not gonna happen.
but yeah, I for me, I feel like okay, I want to do more with the platform that I have, and
Hmm.
there's so many things that I want to share, that I want to say, that are probably even bigger than voiceover. Um, and I think that's hard for a lot of people to understand because everyone's just kind of like, can you just stay small? Like, why you got to go all the way out? Why do you have to like,
Why not?
you know?
We are more than our talent as a voice actor. We're still people.
Yeah.
And I think the more irons we have in the fire that show our different side. So, voice acting aside, we are creatives. You know,
So,
if you look like right back there, I make music. Will anybody ever hear it? No, because it might not be great. But I'm not making it for people. I do it for me.
yeah.
If I feel like, you know what, now it's time to release some of this stuff, I will. But that's one of my outlets.
I just posted a song that I did on my page that I'm like, okay, I'm not the strongest vocalist, you know. I know that I'm not, but I do love to sing, and it is another passion. I'm always singing. I sing to myself through the house. I sing when I'm sad. Um and it's just another way that I express myself.
Hmm.
So I posted this song I wrote the lyrics to, and then I kind of composed it. And my cousin, who plays the saxophone, I got him to, you know, mix his sax on the track. But
Oh, we might need to talk, man, and make some music.
I sat on it for a year because I was embarrassed because I was like, it's not good. Um, but I posted it recently the other day, not because I changed my mind and I felt like, yeah, this is the lick. Let me post it. I just like, you know what? Sometimes because I'm so insecure about some of the things that I do, I kind of force myself to do it anyway. And
Hmm.
it's kind of my way of just getting out there and just doing the thing, even if it's cringy, even if people are like, "What the hell was that?" Like, I don't know. I just, you know,
It's an outlet. You know, this book, I have screenplays. So sometimes ideas will come at me in my sleep. I could be watching interaction with people in traffic and like, that would make for a good story. And then as my friend BZ said, get to jotting. I start jotting.
yeah.
Um, I do want to talk about something. I know you said you want to get your voice out there. There's a project I saw that you posted, that was near and dear to you, for Muslim kids.
Mhm.
So talk a little bit about that.
So this is a publication that comes in the mail, and it kind of reminded me of the things that we had in the 80s. You know, you would get like the little magazine in the mail and it would have your name on it. I can't remember what it was called. It wasn't Scholastic.
Highlights.
Yes, yes. So I had a highlight subscription as a kid,
Hmm.
and I used to love going out to my mailbox and getting my little magazine that had my name on it.
Yep.
And so this is very similar to that, where it comes in your child's name and it's just very light, like it's in a comic book format, and it's on an array of, you know, really important topics like kindness, bullying, racism, you know, giving back, charity, things like that. Um, and it's got stickers inside of it. It's got a passport, so it's got like a citizen passport, and you can build up badges, character badges,
Oh, that's
by
cool.
doing different things.
Yeah.
And then you pull off the sticker and you fill up your. So instead of getting visas in your passport, you're getting these different character badges. And so my kids had a subscription when we were in England, and they used to love them. And at first, I was only getting them for my 8-year old, who he's 8 now, but not for my younger daughter because I thought she was too young. I think at the time when I first started them, she was maybe 4,
Hmm.
but she was getting upset and she was like, "I want one. I want my own subscription." So I started getting them for the both of them, and they were really excited about it. And then I saw that they were launching in the UK, so I reached out to them and I just said, "Hey, I'm a voice actor and I've been following you and my kids love your subscription and I'm living here in the UK, and so kind of like an American ambassador to the UK, I'd be really happy to help you with your launch." So we met on Zoom and we just put it together, and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm like, that's nothing. That's easy. I'd be happy to record a video and, you know, help you get the product out there." So that's how that was born.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
Mhm.
And you never know, it may turn into something animated one day. And it doesn't hurt to know a voice actor right there. Like, Do you do
They
cartoons?
actually have a cartoon series. Um, but yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know who their actors are or but
We need to
yeah.
find out who that is. And it's called Noor.
Newer kids,
Am I
yeah.
saying that correct? Noor Kids. Yes. So
Yeah.
look that up.
More
Noor
Arabic
Kids.
for light.
Ah, okay. See, I'm learning today too. So so as we conclude, as I ask all my guests, this is the lightning round, as they say in the old TV shows. Yasmeen, when you're not writing songs that you're not going to release, and being told you're not American or black enough in the voiceover world, well, you need to just unplug. How do you take time out for yourself?
As you can see, I am guilty of being a compulsive shopper.
Oh yeah.
I love clothes and it's how I feel good.
I mean, I'm telling you, y'all see it, man, like rocking it
And it's
for real.
bad. It's bad though. I know everyone's talking about this documentary that's come out ahead of Christmas called Buy Now and they're like
I just watched it.
I know. And I'm like that is me.
Yeah.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty. But that aside, we live in a really beautiful part of Scotland. We're right on the east coast. So the sea is a minute from my house.
Oh,
And even when it's freezing cold, it's still really beautiful. So we go for walks, for coastal walks, and there are so many like little small villages that you can just walk to along the coast, and
yeah.
some of them still have like the old sign above the door with the date stamp of 1709 or whatever, and it will say, this person lived at this house, Sir Thomas Goodall or whoever. And so there's all this history, and there's so many cobblestone roads still. um, so we enjoy just getting
Oh,
out and walking. And I used to paint, not so much anymore just because I'm so busy now. I used to bake, but as I've gotten older, I'm like, okay, I can't bake as much anymore. So yeah, metabolism wise, anyway.
oh, talk
So
about it. Talk
yeah,
about it.
so I'm always busy. I'm always busy.
Do you find a good balance between, you know, wife, mommy, voice actor, like because a lot
Never.
of a lot of my voice actor friends who are married is like, we make it work. Some days I got the mommy hat on more than I got the wife hat on or the hubby hat on, and some days it's like, hey, I can't take them to soccer. I got a session in 10 minutes. Can you? Well, I'm at work and I can't get it. But now you got to try to figure out how to get, like, how do you juggle all that?
We have 6 kids, so my life is like a 3-ring circus, and
Whoa!
I'm like drill sergeant. So my daddy is a Vietnam vet from Detroit, Michigan, who came up
Oh
in the
no! You
civil
say
rights
yes. I
era.
understand.
So I had a militant daddy. So I know how to be drill sergeant. So even though I'm like, soft spoken Yasmeen in the mornings and I'm trying to get my kids out to school and I've got
Right.
5 sons. I have five boys in a row. Um so I'm like I'm that's why the baseball cap. So they don't forget.
Hey, 7:30, bro.
I'm
I
like,
need you to come on and
I'm mama and
let's get it.
daddy and I'm drill sergeant. I'm like, go, 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 move it, move it, move it.
That is, I would pay to see this young lady who I'm looking at, who and she's all, thank you. And, hey, that's let's go. Yeah. All right, Mom. Dang. What you say? Nothing.
Yeah,
She getting them
they
in
know
line.
they know
Five,
I can show up. I show up.
five boys. That in itself deserves an award. Um, Sheesh.
Yeah.
All righty then. Whew, that hurt me. I'm like, five.
Yeah.
I grew up, it was me and two sisters, but five brothers?
And
You
it's like our youth wasn't that too far behind us. So I'm like, I know all the tricks. You can't pull anything over
mm-hmm.
me. I'm like, I'm too smart. So
Oh, you trying to? Yeah, I did that. I did that. When I was 10, bro. You ain't fooling me,
yeah.
man. Whew. All right. So tell the folks how they can find you and follow you on all your socials, and perhaps hire her and get her some work. Damn it. I'm sorry.
So you can find me on Instagram at Yasmeen Roberts VO. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Yasmeen Ansari-Roberts. I'm on Facebook, but I don't really use Facebook that much, I will admit. Um, and yes, I am in the process of swapping my website over. I was with Wix and they were just getting kind of crazy with their annual subscriptions to host my website. So I now
Mm,
have a link tree. Um, you are,
okay.
yeah. So you can find me on Instagram.
All right. Well, this has been fun. I know it's late for you over there, so I do appreciate you literally taking some time out to hop on here.
Absolutely.
Um, have a good weekend, and if we don't speak going into the new year, have a great holiday and new year and all that good stuff. And thanks again for hopping on.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm glad we did.
it has been an absolute pleasure.
And
And just to let you know, I am working on an animated series, and if nobody else gonna give you some work, I will, as soon as I get some funding for the project. So on that note, we want to thank you all for for joining us on Take Time Out with Tre. I am your host who needs a loan, Tre Mosley, and that is Yasmeen Ansari-Roberts. And we out, y'all. Until next time, take some time out for yourself. Thanks for listening to the Take Time Out with Tre Mosley podcast, part of the Titan Media Network. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. To see the video version of this, you can find us on YouTube on the Take Time Out with Tre Mosley YouTube page. Thanks for listening, or thanks for watching. Either way, we'll see you next time.